So, welcome back, dear students. Today we'll be discussing the topic masonry. I hope you all would have heard the term masonry or a mason. So, a mason is a person who builds structures, and masonry is the art of building structures. Masonry is the building of structures from individual units which are often laid in and bound together by mortar. The term masonry can also refer to the units. For example, uh, the various building units like stones, bricks, precast concrete blocks, etc., are used in the construction of structures. So, with reference to the particular unit that has been used for construction, we can define them as stone masonry or brick masonry or concrete block masonry. So, as you see here, different types of masonry. You can see stone masonry, there's brick masonry, hollow concrete block masonry, reinforced brick masonry, and composite masonry. So, reinforced brick masonry, as you see in the figure, is a type of masonry wherein the bricks or the brick units are being reinforced by using steel. Again, composite masonry indicates a type of masonry wherein you are using more than one type of building unit. For example, when you use brick along with stones for construction of structures, normally in some brick structures which are being constructed using bricks, on the facing side we provide stones. So such type of construction where you are using both units, we call them as composite masonry. So there are various types of masonry walls used in building construction, and these walls are the most durable part of any building or a structure. They provide strength and durability to the structure as well as helps to control the indoor and the outdoor temperature. Again, the durability and strength of masonry wall construction depends on the type and the quality of the materials that are being used for the construction as well as the workmanship. So, as it was told in the definition, masonry is the building of structures from individual units which are bonded together by mortar. So, here mortar acts as the cementing material and binds the individual masonry units together so as to act as a homogeneous mass. And the different types of mortars that are normally used are cement mortar, there is lime mortar, cement lime mortar, lime surki mortar, and mud mortar. So when these bricks are laid in mortar in a very systematic or orderly manner, they form a homogeneous mass which can withstand the forces, the various loads that are acting on the structure without causing failure or disintegration. And this mass of the structure that is made by the use of bricks, we call it as brick masonry or simply brick work. And we know that bricks are of uniform size and shape, and the other advantages of bricks are that compared to stones are that they are light in weight, they are durable, they are highly fire resistant and have high resale value. The maintenance cost is also comparatively lesser and they are easily available in plain areas. So here you can see a brick. So it's nothing but an artificial structural element which is normally rectangular in shape, and they may be manufactured of any shape or any desired shape, but normally the bricks are rectangular in shape. Again, there are two types of bricks, the modular bricks and the traditional bricks. Modular bricks are those which has a size that is being specified by the Bureau of Indian Standards. So as specified by the BIS, the nominal size of a modular brick is 19 centimeters by 9 centimeters by 9 centimeters. Whereas in the traditional types of bricks, the size varies. However, for any brick, the length of the brick will be equal to twice the width plus thickness of one mortar joint, and normally the thickness of one mortar joint is considered to be 1 centimeter. Now we'll see what are the important or some important terms that are normally used in brick masonry. So frog. So what is a frog? As you see in the figure here, a frog is nothing but an indentation or a depression that is provided on one face of a brick. It is an indentation or a depression. You can see on the upper face of the brick here there is a frog. It is a small depression that is provided along the face, And what is the purpose of providing frog? So normally these frogs act as a key for mortar joint. So when you bind two brick units, the mortar will be placed across the frog so that it will bind with the other unit which is placed above it. And another important feature of providing frog is that it reduces the overall weight of the brick so that we can lay it with convenience. And also it provides a place for putting some impression, say like the manufacturing date or some trademark or the company's trademark or something like that can be put on the frog. So these are the three important reasons why a frog is provided for a brick. So they are firstly to reduce the weight, then to provide a mortar, sufficient mortar joint with the adjacent brick, and also to put some impression or trademark. Now coming to the next term, cores. So cores, like you know that when we construct a building or a structure, we will lay the bricks in horizontal layers. So each horizontal layer of a brick which is laid in mortar in a brickwork, we call it as a cores. So next term is stretcher. What is a stretcher? So stretcher, you can see again in the same figure here. Stretcher is nothing but the longer face. A brick has a longer face and a shorter face. The longer face of a brick we call it as a stretcher, and the shorter face of a brick we call it as a header. Again, one course which has all bricks laid as stretchers on the facing side, we call it as a stretcher course or a stretching course. Similarly, when you place all the bricks in a particular course such that the headers are facing on the facing side, we call it as a header course or a heading course. So that's about course, stretcher and header. So you can see a course in which the bricks are laid such that the header is shown on the facing side, we call it as a heading course or a header course. Likewise, stretcher course or stretching course. Now the next term is quin. So quin is nothing but the external corner of the wall. So when two brick walls meet at a point, that external corner formed by the intersection of the two walls, we call it as the quin. And a brick that is placed at the corner, we call it as a quin brick. Now suppose at the corner a header is placed, we call it as a quin header. And suppose it is a stretcher which is on the face of the wall at the corner, we call it as a quin stretcher. So I hope that is clear. So quin is nothing but the corner formed by the intersection of two walls. So accordingly we call the brick which is placed at the corner as stretcher, quin stretcher or quin header. Now brick bats. So what is a bat? So it's nothing but a piece of a brick which is cut along its length, but however it has a width equivalent to that of a full brick. So normally there are two types of bats that are commonly used in construction, namely the half bat and the 3/4 bat. So when one half of a brick is cut off, the remaining we call it as a half bat. When quarter part of a brick is cut, the remaining part we call it as a 3/4 bat. Again, the next term is quin closer. So closers are bricks which are cut in definite shape for use in brick masonry. There are different types of closers, of which quin closer and king closer are important. So what is quin closer? For that, as you see in the figure here, a quin closer is a brick which is cut in such a way that half the header and half the stretcher, that is a king closer. Quin closer is a brick in which the brick is cut longitudinally across the length, as you see in the figure. So it will be half as wide as a full brick. So the quin closer will be half as wide as a full brick, and it is made by cutting a whole brick lengthwise into two portions. So they are generally used next to the quin header for creating bonds in brickwork. We'll come to that later. So understand for now that a quin closer is a brick which is half as wide as a full brick. You can see in the first figure, the width of a queen closer is equal to half the width of a full brick. Now next, coming to king closer. King closer is a brick which is obtained by cutting a triangular portion of brick which includes half of the header and the adjacent stretcher, half of the adjacent stretcher. As you see in the figure here, half the header on one face and on the adjacent face half of the stretcher. Then you cut off a triangular portion, we call it as a king closer. So it is a brick whose one diagonal piece is cut off one corner by a vertical plane passing through the center of one end to the center of the other end. So this is a king closer. Hope it is clear. Then you have a beveled closer. So beveled closer is like a brick which is obtained, as you see in the figure here, a beveled closer is a brick cut longitudinally along a vertical plane starting at the middle of one end to the far corner. So throughout the length of the brick, you are considering one end, half of the header, and then throughout the length of the brick. So you can say that almost 1/4 of the brick is cut off. And this type of closer, we call it as a beveled closer. And the figure D, you can see it is a bullnose brick. So a bullnose brick is a brick which has rounded corners, we call it. You can see there is the corner or the edge is not sharp, but instead it is rounded. So such a brick, we call it as a bullnose brick. And normally such bricks are used when you need a rounded corner for a wall or a structure. So I hope that is clear. Now what do you mean by brick bonding? So brick bonding, so bond is nothing but the arrangement of bricks or stones in each course so as to ensure the greatest possible interlocking and to avoid the continuity of the vertical joint. So bonding is nothing but the way in which you arrange the building units, be it bricks or stones, the way in which you arrange them in courses such that you are also ensuring that there is greatest interlocking among the units, as well as the vertical joints in two successive courses will not in two successive courses the vertical joints will not overlap. So this process, we call it as bonding. Now what are the objectives of bonding? So the primary object of bonding is to break the continuity of the vertical joints in the successive courses. Again, other points like objectives include the structure will act as a bounded mass and its total load will be transmitted uniformly to the foundation. And to ensure that the longitudinal and the lateral strength of the structure, we require good bonding. It also provides a pleasing appearance to the laying of bricks symmetrically. So it gives an aesthetic appearance. And to do the masonry work quickly by engaging more masons on a job at a time. So these are the objectives of bonding. Now what are the rules for good bonding? So normally one of the most important rule for good bonding is that the bricks that we are using for bonding should be of uniform size. Then the bricks should be arranged uniformly throughout the wall, and as far as possible we have to avoid the use of brick bats. Then the bricks in the interiors of the wall should be laid as headers, that is across the wall. And also the lap. So what is a lap? Lap is nothing but the distance, horizontal distance between the vertical joints of successive courses, we call it as a lap. And the amount of lap should be minimum as 1/4 the brick length. So 1/4 the length of the brick should be the minimum lap that is being provided. And as already discussed, for good bonding, the vertical joints in the alternate courses should be along the same perpend. Successive courses, it should not coincide. However, the brick joints or the vertical joints in alternative courses should be along the same line. So here you can see brick bonding. This is a type of brick bonding. Here you can see whether all the bricks are of uniform size. They are arranged uniformly throughout the wall, and as far as possible minimum batts are used. And you can see the lap is the horizontal distance between the vertical joints of successive brick courses. So minimum of 1/4 the length of the brick has to be provided for good bonding. Now coming to the different types of bonds, there are various types of bonds, but we'll be discussing only 4 types, and they are English bond, Flemish bond, stretcher bond and header bond. So we'll see what are they. So English bond. So English bond is a bond in which the headers and the stretchers are laid in alternate courses in the bonding. So we call it as English bond. So what is that? So you can see, I'll just show you the figure. So here you can see the elevation. So in each course, when you consider, you can see the same course will show headers or stretchers on the face. That is one full layer of stretchers. The next course will be fully headers. Similarly, the third course will again be stretchers on the facing side. Fourth course will be full of headers. So this type of a bond we call it as a English bond. Here again the same course will show headers on the face and stretchers on the back, and vice versa. This is generally when the wall is an odd multiple of half brick. So these are the salient features of English bond. That is, headers and stretchers are laid in alternate courses, and in each heading course a queen closer is placed next to the queen header. So as already discussed, a queen header means a header that is placed at the corner. So next to the corner header you are placing a queen closer, and the remaining bricks are laid as headers again. So you can see that in English bond, each course, the first course, all the bricks will be laid as stretchers on the facing side, and the second course you will be placing first a header, the second one will be a queen closer. What is a queen closer? A brick which is cut longitudinally into 2 halves. So then you place a queen closer, then again continuously you place the headers, and the third course again will be similar as the first course. So normally the odd courses all will be the same, the even courses will be the same. So these are the salient features of a English bond. So the same is as shown in the figure here. So I hope this figure should be more clear. You can see the first course here, all the bricks are laid as stretchers. In the second course, the first brick will be a header, then you are placing a queen closer, and then all headers. So you can see that the vertical joints in the successive courses are not overlapping. Similarly, the third course will be same as the first course likewise. And again here you can see the plan of a stretcher course and plan of a header course. So I hope this is clear. So as you see in the figure here, you can see that stretchers and headers are laid in alternate courses. Again you can see the plan of a stretcher course, and here there is a plan of the header course. Now coming to the other features of English bond. So these are the strongest bond in brick masonry or in brickwork, and here you can see as already I told you, alternate courses consist of headers and stretchers. Queen closer is put next to the queen header to develop a lap, and each alternate header is centrally supported over a stretcher. So you can see in each alternate course the header is centrally supported over a stretcher. Continuous vertical joints are not formed. You can see that in the successive courses there is no continuous vertical joint. Then if the wall thickness is an even multiple of half a brick, for example, so even multiple of a half a brick includes 1 brick thick wall, 2 brick thick walls, etc. So if it is an even multiple of half a brick, the front and the back elevation will have the headers and stretchers. However, if it is an uneven multiple or say an odd multiple, it will show different sides on the front and the back elevation. So for a odd multiple wall thickness English bond, you can see that there will be different sides on the front and the back elevation. Again, the number of joints in the header course is twice that of the stretcher course. You can see that The number of vertical joints in each course is, say the first course there are, see here in this case there are 4 vertical joints. However, in the header course it is twice that of the stretcher course, and the header course should never start with a queen closer. So as you see in the second course here, the header course, in the header course, the first header, that is a queen header, is followed by a queen closer. Never we can place a queen closer in the beginning, because that may weaken the bond in the brick wall. So this is English bond. So these are the features. Now coming to Flemish bond. So this is again a type of bonding in which the headers and stretchers are laid alternately in the same course. So unlike an English bond where you are placing stretchers in one complete course and then you are placing headers in the next course, in the case of a Flemish bond, you will be placing stretchers and headers alternately in the same course. So it's clearly shown in the figure here. You can see in the first course there is a header, then you have a stretcher, then you have a header, then you have a stretcher. So this type of a bond we call it as Flemish bond. Now the salient features of a Flemish bond, what are they? So here you can see the following are the salient features of Flemish bond. So as already I told you, headers and stretchers are laid alternately in the same course, and every header in each course lies centrally over the stretcher and in the underlying course. And in every alternate course, a queen closer is placed next to the queen header so as to provide a lap of approximately 1/4 the length of a brick. Here also brick bats are used in walls having thickness equal to an odd multiple of a half brick. Normally there are 2 types of Flemish bond: single Flemish bond and double Flemish bond. So here you can see in this figure, this is a 1.5 brick thick Flemish bond, the odd course and the even course. Again you have here, it is a double Flemish bond and a single Flemish bond. So this is again another figure which shows the bonds in brick work. So as I told you, there are 2 types of Flemish bonds: single Flemish bond and a double Flemish bond. So a single Flemish bond is that type of bond. You can see here figure B represents a single Flemish bond. So it is a type of bond in which the bond is provided in a wall with Flemish bond in the facing and English bond in the backing. So on the facing side, you can see, when you observe it on the facing side, it will appear as a Flemish bond. However, on the backing side, on the back side, when you observe it, it appears as an English bond. So this type of bonding, we call it as a single Flemish bond or a cross bond. So this bond combines the advantages of both the English and the Flemish bonds, and simultaneously it eliminates their disadvantages as well. And as you see in figure A, that shows a double Flemish bond. So this is a type of bond in which the headers and stretchers are laid alternately in each course, and both in the face and the back of the wall. That is, it appears as Flemish bond on the facing side as well as on the backing side. Then you call it as a double Flemish bond. So I hope it is clear. Now there are 2 more types of bonding: the header bond and the stretcher bond. So we'll see what it is. It's also called as a heading bond. So a header bond or a heading bond, as you see in the figure, it is a type of masonry or brick masonry or a bonding in which all the bricks are laid as headers in every course. We call it as a heading bond or a header bond. And here you are placing 3/4 bats will be laid as a queen brick in alternate courses. So in the first course, you will have all bricks as laid as headers on the facing side, and in every alternate course you will have a 3/4 bat being placed as a queen brick or in the corner. And why do we provide this? This is mainly provided in order to develop the lap. So 3/4 bats are laid as queen bricks in the alternate courses to break the continuity of the vertical joints, and it also increases the transverse strength. however weakens the longitudinal strength of the wall. And this type of a bond is commonly used for constructing steening walls, steening of the wells, footings of walls and columns, etc. See, as you see in the figure here, this is the elevation. So each alternate course consists of a 3/4 bat that is placed in the corner. Then you have the headers. So all bricks will be laid as headers. So this is a header bond. Now coming to a stretching bond. So this is a bond in which all the bricks are laid as stretchers in each course, and we call it as a stretching bond or a stretcher bond. And this bond is provided for constructing half brick thick partition walls. As you see in the figure here, this is a stretcher bond. So here in every alternate course you will be placing a half bat in order to provide the necessary lap. So that's about stretcher bond. Now coming to the comparison of English bond and Flemish bond. So we have seen that English bond, so as we have seen in the figure here, just give you a recap on what exactly is a English bond. So this is a English bond. So it's the strongest bond. In this alternate course consists of headers and stretchers. Queen closer is put next to the queen header to develop a lap, and each alternate header is supported over a stretcher, and continuous vertical joints are not formed other than at a certain points. So this is a English bond. And when it comes to Flemish bond, here the headers and stretchers are laid alternately in the same course, and every header in each course lies centrally over every stretcher of the underlying course. And in every alternate course, a queen closer is placed next to the queen header so as to provide a lap of approximately 1/4 the length of a brick. And there are two types, as you see in the figure, a single Flemish bond and a double Flemish bond. So now we'll see the comparison between the two. So here you can see that in English bond, it consists of headers and stretchers laid in alternative courses, whereas in Flemish bond, it consists of headers and stretchers laid alternately in each course. English bond is the strongest of all the bonds, and compared to the English bond, the Flemish bond is less stronger. And English bond provides a rough appearance, especially for one brick thick walls. However, appearance wise or in aesthetic wise, the Flemish bond is far better than a English bond. Here in English bond, there are no noticeable continuous vertical joints, but in the case of a Flemish bond, there are partly continuous vertical joints built in this bond. And no much attention is required in providing this bond. But in the case of a Flemish bond, it requires skilled labor, whereas in English bond, no much skilled labor is required. And the progress of the work is more speedy in the case of English bond, whereas the progress of work will be lesser in case of a Flemish bond. Because of use of brick bats, it is costly, whereas Flemish bond is economical, because brick bats are allowed for forming this bond. In English bond, it is costly because we don't use much brick bats, whereas in the case of a Flemish bond, it is more economical because pieces of bricks in the form of bats are used. So this is about brick bonding. So we'll discuss stone masonry in the next class. I hope it is clear.